tournament where my friend John said he found a body in the bushes over there. I ran over there because I'm a healing monk to try and help, but obviously my magic wasn't strong enough because the dude's body was missing a head. So my friend decided to try and use a necromancer spell, which didn't work, which I knew it wouldn't. And apparently we contaminated the crime scene because that spell uses a lot of glitter.
Your Honor, I object!
And why is that, Mr. Reed?
Because it's devastating to my case!
I gotta tell you, you brighten my day, ma'am. All right?
That's what the last guy said, and then he sued me.
Hey everybody! Happy Memorial Day. I am so glad to be back in day-to-day life after that Boston trip. Oh my God. My personal life just kind of erupted with, everybody's birthday is at the same time. Like, I swear there's a mating season in my family. And then I also am getting over a little bit of a flu. I've literally got Pedialyte in this cup right now. So I'm glad to be back up here and going, and there is so much to go over with what's going on with Karen and with her trial, and I'm happy to be going over this today with Jen Altman. Really quick, let me greet everybody. Christina, thank you so much for moderating as always. Welcome, Patricia. Glad to see you. Noodles Mama, I hope that you saw my response to this, but sometimes if a live hasn't started yet and you post a comment super duper early, then it just times out after a while. So, Lauren is here. And then Ruth Ann, thanks so much for being a member for 2 months. And guys, we have a new emoji for y'all to use in the chat. I created a what the duck emoji. It's super cute. It's got a cute little rubber ducky. It looks just like this one. So let's go ahead and bring up our guest. Yeah, thank you, Christina. All righty. So Jen is someone who knows a hell of a lot more than me. I'm a layperson when it comes to medical stuff. I feel like in a lot of ways, you don't need much more than common sense to understand what's really going on in this case, but it always helps us to have somebody with a little bit of that background. She is a spearheader in the Karen Reed movement. So I'm so happy that she is willing to take the time to come hang out with us today. We're going to talk about some of the testimony that has already gone by and some of the upcoming testimony. So please welcome my dear friend, Jen Altman.
Hello. How are you? Hi, everybody.
Doing well. Thanks so much for being here and for taking the time to come walk us through a little bit of what we've been seeing over the past couple weeks.
Listen, like you just said, I think a lot of it is just common sense. It just does not make sense. Hi, Scott. It just does not make whatsoever. Sense. No. Hi, Lauren.
Hey, Cheryl. Glad to see you. Yeah, we've got a lot of people who are glad that you're here as well. So, I guess the first thing I want to ask you is, how are you feeling about how the experts, as far as Officer O'Keefe's injuries, have presented this go round as opposed to trial number 1?
I think they're great. I think they are helping the defense because although, Brennan is so focused that John hit his head on the ground. Nobody's denying that he hit his head. Not one of the experts have said he got hit by a car and hit his head. Not
Yep.
one of them. Even Dr. Wolf, I mean, the trolls and the anti-free Karen Reed are all excited. Oh, Dr. Wolf is brilliant. And I'm sure he is. He seems like a very experienced yet egotistical, doctor.
Yeah.
Um,
Neurosurgeons have a god complex a lot of the time, don't they?
They do. A lot of doctors do. Yeah. The good ones know to kind of step back, make the, write the orders, make the big decisions, and let their nurses and their therapists and the rest of the healthcare team do the dirty work. But
Yeah.
he, even when he was saying, people are saying, oh, he's so brilliant, he helped the state's case. I didn't see it at all. I don't see it at all. He said the guy fell back. The guy, tell him the guy wasn't in the house. John O'Keefe fell back and broke his head, hit his head. Nobody's denying that. Nobody's denying that. I mean, it's obvious that happened. So, I think he helped the reasonable doubt on the defense side all the way.
And we have to remember too that he is one of the only Commonwealth witnesses so far that has 100% credibility here, just objectively speaking. Everybody else, it seems, I mean, aside from, the lab workers, everybody else seems to have some kind of contention going along with them. So, thank you.
I don't know if
Brian. I wanted to make sure I acknowledged Brian here. Thanks for being in the chat.
You need a phone call. Brian and I try and have a phone call every once in a while. We haven't had one in a while, so we need one of those. I thought Scortabello, does she really have anything that is contentious for her? I liked her as a witness too.
Yeah, I definitely liked her testimony. I wish that, and maybe this isn't something that the defense would ask her. Oh, Brian says he's going to give you that call soon.
Oh, good. We'll text and set it up.
I wish she had been asked, and maybe this is something that will be asked to Proctor, but I would like for the jury to find out one way or another that there were attempts made to get her to change her opinion as to the manner of death to Officer O'Keefe, and that she wouldn't do it, and they therefore were name calling behind her back. And
and I don't think they can bring that in unless they have Proctor. They can't question her on it. So you think they'll call Proctor? I think they will.
I have no doubt in my mind that
the
defense will. Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know if you remember I think it was Boston 25 interview where Karen and Jackson sat down. It was with Ted Daniels, so it would have been Boston 25. And they discussed Proctor a little bit, and Alan very assertively said, oh yeah, the Commonwealth wants to make Proctor disappear as far as this case is concerned to the jury. If they don't call him, we will call him. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I was listening to Betterow on Brother Counsel the other day, and he was saying if Brennan had been smart, he would have called him no matter what and said, just deal with it. You got to take it like a big boy and
take your medicine.
Take your medicine and just do it. And I just think that Hank Brennan is not a prosecutor. He's a defense attorney, and he's thinking that he's going to get one by. I mean, the jury has to be wondering, who is this Proctor guy and why hasn't he been called yet? They have to be wondering that.
Sure. He's definitely not behaving like a prosecutor. And
just the way he questions his witnesses.
Right. He's contributing to a lot of the crowd who is of the opinion that Brennan was brought on more so to defend Morrissey and the bad apples than to really prosecute Karen, to do so in a way that maybe doesn't expose them in some form or
Yeah.
fashion. And it's like every step Brennan takes, he's furthering this theory. I'm
Yeah.
seeming like they're not too far off.
And I
Larry, thanks so
wonder.
much for
Oh.
being here. Good to see you.
Hi, La. Hi, La.
La.
My power base.
Aw,
Uh,
shucks.
I wonder what will happen to Brennan's career when this is done. Because if I was a defense attorney, I'm not really sure that I would. I mean, a defendant, like Ken Mello says. I'm not sure. I'd look at him because he did one case and supported the government and didn't call them out on their corruption, and now he's going to defend somebody else in a different. I think his career as a defense attorney is pretty much over. Maybe ambulance chaser, but I don't think any Whitey Bulger cases anymore.
Yeah, he definitely, his persona in dealing with all of this, he's not coming across as somebody who's just trying to get to the truth of the matter.
Right.
And I think that's showing, especially when he does his redirects.
Yeah, he's mean.
Yeah,
You don't
and
have
he's
to be
getting that way
mean.
with his own witnesses, which is,
Right.
nearly unheard of.
And did you see when Jessica Hyde was testifying, she looked at him or somebody and said sorry? I'll have to find that and send it to you because I've seen it a couple times. I should have screen recorded it, but I didn't. But she answered a question from Alessi. Was he the one that cross-examined her? And
Yes, she was crossed by Alessi.
And looked at I would assume Brennan and said sorry. And
that doesn't look good.
No, I'll have to find that and send it to you. I will find it.
Yeah, that's really bad optics. Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing that. I feel like now, granted, I was watching her testimony on double speed, during lunch hour and stuff like that. But okay, Hank's butt on a platter says,
"Oh, good."
I remember Jessica Hyde saying sorry to you. Okay, so definitely
it was like a quick little, like a sorry, and then she just went on with the questions. It was really kind of. I'm not a huge fan of hers, and I think she comes off as very egotistical and kind of,
She seemed to be talking down to Alessi.
Well, let me just correct you. It's not George Washington. It's George Mason.
Sure. And it's like, we're not kindergartners.
Right.
You don't have to speak to us like we have a collective IQ of 40. Because we don't. You can, you can use layman's terms without talking down to people. Right. And she really didn't seem to strike that balance.
Yeah, I agree with you.
In my view, but So you mentioned that Dr. Wolf did not in any way say that John O'Keefe's head injury was caused by a pedestrian car strike. And I thought that was just a huge cornerstone of this particular trial versus the last trial, because almost every witness at some point in the last trial said John O'Keefe was hit by Karen Reed's car in some form or fashion.
And why couldn't they find a physician here that would give that sort of, there's got to be brain surgeons in Massachusetts, I would assume. So
I mean,
why couldn't they
all
find
we can
a doctor
do is speculate?
Here? Yeah, I don't.
I
I don't get it.
I just think that's how far they have to look to get somebody who's willing to go under oath and say that this theory is plausible.
Right. Did they even, I don't even remember them bringing up the fact of a SUV strike or a car strike during his, I mean, they focused on the head injury, the, I can't even say that term.
Counter coup?
Yeah. You know, the back, I just call it this. You know, and everybody knows that happened. I mean, the jury could be sitting there saying, oh, okay, John could have gotten out of the car and slipped and fell and smashed his head. I mean, doesn't explain the this and the this and the right. But I thought the cross-examination on Dr. Wolf was great, just focusing on that cut above, you know, the head is, well, then how did that happen? And maybe it happened from the glass when he fell. Maybe the glass broke, and who knows? But still doesn't prove he was hit by a car. And the Commonwealth doesn't need to prove John died. We all know John died. They have to prove that he was hit by a car.
I have my mic muted because my dogs are barking. But no, you're 1,000% on point. And you know, I was thinking about what you mentioned as well with the lack of speaking to what the causation may have been too much for Dr. Wolf. But, you know, and I wonder if it's because he's a neurosurgeon and deals with living patients. So it's not really in his purview. But at the same time, I wouldn't put it past Judge Canone to allow him to speak outside of his scope.
Oh, her internet is a little wonky. So
here we go.
There we go.
Here we go.
Woo!
Sorry. But you know, I don't find it to be out of character either for Judge Canone to allow Dr. Wolf to speak outside of his scope either, because
I agree. Oh, there we go again.
Speaking about, you know, the causation of the injuries to O'Keefe's arm too. Right. I don't know if you heard about that.
Oh, Britt, your wonky internet.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Okay, you're back.
Okay. Sorry, y'all. I'm still having my in-between internet companies season where I have no choice but to use this little cellular data conversion router. And I've got maybe a week or two to go before I'm hooked back up to fiber optics.
And then it's smooth sailing from there.
Hopefully so. Let's just hope it's a damn good company. So, no, FBI. That would be my 3 bulldogs in the background. That is my American, my English bulldog, and my Frenchie. I have the full Bulldog World Alliance, and they are so funny together. I feel that they could have their own TV show personally. The big American, his name is Bodie. He's about 75 pounds. And then I've got, you know, the chubby, wrinkly English bulldog. And she is kind of the old soul, the grouchy old lady of the bunch. Her name's Paisley. And then the Frenchie, her name is Mitzi. She was the easy one to raise. You know, I think she kind of did. Yeah, exactly. She did monkey see, monkey do, so to speak, with the others. And she's just so, you know, easygoing. She's she's just so content. She's the most content dog that I've ever had. She's and she's precious as can be. They all are. So, but that's who you were hearing. I am not secretly storing Chloe.
Or what's her name? Cora.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she's had a change of identity. When
That
which
whole
maybe
dog
Proctor
thing
needs.
too. Oh, the
Ah,
whole
so
dog
sad.
thing. I
I could go
I
on
don't get it.
forever about Chloe and how I feel about that, but
Where do you think Chloe went at night? Because she wasn't there. She couldn't be there. There's no way she was there.
over the Rainbow Bridge. That's
No,
just
that
what my heart.
night.
Oh,
That
that
night.
Mm.
Tristan and Caitlin. I
possibly,
don't know. Possibly. I mean,
possibly.
it makes sense, but
Mhm. Well,
who knows? I mean, I just can't imagine that Jen McCabe burst into the bedroom like she said she did. And I think she used in the first trial the word burst,
mhm.
and that Chloe didn't attack her.
Which she would have.
Right.
She would have at least barked, and
Right.
you
And
know,
you
this
remember
is
that if a huge
Mhm.
German Shepherd is barking at you, I think
Oh,
you would
certainly.
remember that, even though you're in shock and horror.
Pro Hawk BJ says Chloe went home with Caitlin. Yeah,
I agree.
yeah,
I agree.
probably.
I mean, listen, none of us really know what happened. I think we all have our theory about what might have happened.
Mhm.
But I think we all can agree that the fact is that John does not have the injuries to show that he was hit by a car going 24 miles an hour. I worked in level 1 trauma for 5 years as a respiratory therapist, and I intubated a lot of people who had been hit by cars, and they don't look like that. They just don't look like that.
Oh, certainly not. I mean, and again, this is something that people with common sense can speak to as well. Many times, I'm going to say the majority, if not all, of car accidents, especially a pedestrian car strike, are going to result in significant injuries
Mm-hmm.
below the head, for crying out loud.
Mhm.
Ribs, pelvis, hips, legs.
I mean, if his arm was hit by that taillight, first of all, he's not going to crack a taillight into 47 pieces, the arm. And if it did, it was going to also break his arm, because I'm assuming that the taillight is probably a little bit stronger than the arm.
Yeah. It
And
is. It's polycarbonate. It's what they use to make safety glasses.
Yeah, that his arm was going to break. And it amazes me that the people who think Karen Reed is guilty will ignore all these things. Now the thing is that they say that the spoiler on the SUV hit him in the head. Girl, if it's
Hit him in
not
the
hit in the head with a spoiler at 24 miles an hour, your eyeball would explode.
Yeah,
your head.
and that's something I always thought about too, that I'd be interested in getting your opinion on. If the car had a direct contact with John O'Keefe's head, would his neck have snapped?
Yeah, his head would have just, I mean, I imagine I saw one car accident. I had a patient who came in, and he was in the car and kind of went through the windshield, and he was at 12 miles an hour, I think 10, 12 miles an hour, and he was almost decapitated. And that was just, I mean, obviously it was a windshield too, but it's the force. And
Right.
if you're hit by a direct hit by a car in the back of the head, sorry, it's not just going to leave that little thing. Plus, it's going to throw you pretty far. You're not just going to go 8 feet. I mean, I would think at 24 miles an hour, you're being thrown pretty far, and you're not being thrown like I feel like he would have been more back towards the house a little bit more. If she let him off there, pulled up, backed up, and hit him, he wouldn't be in the same spot that he was at when he was hit. He'd be further down. I mean, he lost his shoe, right? They're saying he lost his shoe. So if you're thrown out, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. If it doesn't make
100%.
sense, then
Oh, Broken Baker.
Broken
Thank you for being
Baker.
here.
Video.
Evan had a video showing him being hit in the back of the head, and he never lies. Oh, never.
I have that video on my phone. I watch it like at least once or twice a week, and I just laugh. I mean, when do you not walk out in the middle of the street, pick up a martini glass, and get hit in the back of the head by a Prius? That's what his video was.
Oh my
It
god.
wasn't even an SUV. It was the wrong damn taillight, for Pete's sake.
I've been considering, I haven't quite made the decision yet, but I'm considering getting his book and just like reading it to
Bless
the
your heart.
chat and
Oh, you
just going-
should.
and just going through it.
I heard it's a
To,
lot
like-
of pages, though. It's like somebody said with like 500 pages or something.
Oh, that's
Probably,
nothing.
probably like 48 font.
But well, and that's the thing. It looks really small. It looks like a little paperback. So I don't know.
I can't stand that man.
Christina, I ordered the book on Kindle, and then and so I haven't actually brought it up to start going through it
Oh my
yet.
gosh. I will tune in for that.
I think what I want to do is wait until the conclusion of the trial,
Yeah.
and then just go from there. Did Broken Baker really read it, Ruth Ann? Baker, did you read the book? I mean, it would obviously, me reading it would be dripping in sarcasm. Baker says,
It's
"Don't."
the worst book. 416 pages, and it's just a self-congratulation.
Oh, okay.
Why
so the
can I
book's
see
more-
that?
Okay, so it's more about himself.
Broken Baker,
More-
you should read it too in the in your chat, in your accent. I can't. I mean, I can't. I tried to listen to Kevin. What was it? A couple days ago, and listen, nobody wants him to be sick. I feel bad if he really is sick, but it hasn't changed his personality, the way he speaks about people. He's just creepy. He's just a creepy guy.
Two people, and then I've got to say, whoever that parody account is for him,
Oh yeah, the Yellow Cottage Tales
Oh my
parody.
gosh.
Yeah.
they've had me fooled a couple of times.
Oh yes, me too.
I've got to say,
I have to
Like-
look at the at because it's
Mhm.
Kevin's is at OURX Vault or
Right.
something, and
Vault,
that other
yeah.
one is Yellow. But he sounds just like him. It's funny.
Oh,
He's good.
I didn't think
wanna-
about that, Baker. Copyright infringement. Okay, yeah.
Oh,
And as much as I think we'd all get a laugh out of being sued, out of me being sued, I'd just rather not. And
well, you
and
know
we all
that somebody took the name of his book. What's it called? Something in the Storm.
Storm of Suspicion.
Stormofsuspicion.com, and linked it to the Karen Reed Defense Fund. So somebody
It
bought
was
the-
Romy. Romy bought
Romy
the
did that.
yeah, she
Oh,
bought
that's right. She did. Yeah, she did tell me that.
she
Mhm.
bought the domain. Oh my god, that was so funny. I reposted it like 100 times. I
Yeah,
thought that was
It's
great.
really good. Oh yeah, it could take your channel down. Oh yeah, that would. Yeah, probably not worth it.
I'd prefer not to have that happen, and I think
Yes.
that's probably the majority vote here. I don't want to be presumptuous, but there was one comment I wanted to bring back up. Here we go. Ask Bob. This is a great way of summarizing it. Jen testified she left 34th Fairview at 1:45 with hubby, Matt McCabe, Levinson, and Nagel. They saw no body. Lucky Plows at 2:30 a.m. and saw no body. Karen connected to her home Wi-Fi at 12:36 a.m. Case closed. And then let me say this too. We're going to have, and this is something I wanted to ask you about, Jen, a new expert on the defense side who Jackson alluded to in his opening arguments, who is going to show us that the hypothermia is not necessarily a direct cause of death to Officer O'Keefe, which is going to mean that he had to have suffered and sustained the more significant of his injuries somewhere warmer and then have been moved outside, which is what a lot of us were all thinking anyway.
I think a lot of it too was before the Commonwealth changed their timeline for that 20 seconds. The fact that Hank Brennan said that he was hit and then he manipulated his phone for 20 seconds, or opened his phone up and then clicked it off, was huge for the defense, because then they would have that would have another I think the defense has an expert coming and saying that injury would be life-threatening pretty immediately. So how is he going to do anything for 20 seconds after that kind of injury? Then they go and change the timeline. But if you notice, they also questioned Wolf on that. Like, would have it been possible once he hit his head for him to do anything? And his answer helped the defense. He said no, he would not have been able to, work his arms. And I thought the interesting thing about Wolf, like, what was that whole animal thing, like back in the caveman days?
Oh, yes. Okay, so
and your body's like to fight off the animals.
So what it made me think of was the chicken with a head cut off.
Yeah, keeps running around
thing where and your body does still, for about 10 seconds, continue to function after there has been some kind of disconnect from your brainstem, which, this is kind of morbid, but this is something that once I learned it as a child,
you never forgot it.
Well, I thought about all the public beheadings that used to happen in the medieval times, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So you would go to the guillotine, and then after the deed was done, you would like watch yourself lose your bowels on
your
stage
arm would be,
in front of everybody.
Flapping.
Like, that's humiliating.
But I thought it was interesting the way he said it. Like, was he implying that he like that happened, and then he couldn't have been eaten by a dog because that would fight off? Like, I didn't understand that whole.
I think at the end of the day, that was more of him just rambling and fact dumping. I don't think he was trying to make a certain point. I think the main point he was trying to make there is that after whatever injury that Officer O'Keefe sustained, there's no way that he could have consciously
unlocked his
interacted with his phone.
Exactly.
Right.
But now that the timeline has changed, and I think that they changed the timeline on purpose because of that. Because of Maz is here. I am a badass, Maz, aren't I?
Oh, there we go. So yeah, especially after Ian Whiffen testified and, kind of married the Commonwealth to the 1232 finish line.
Well, even with that House Long to Die in the Cold, I think it's huge that there's one company that says it changed their programming, and I don't understand a whole lot of that, but I know that one company says, no, we changed our theory, it doesn't exist anymore. But there's still another company who uses a program that says, yes, it does exist. So that is, if I was on the jury, you have to give the benefit to the defendant, not to the Commonwealth. And I don't know. I think maybe I'm being a little bit getting too excited about it, but I just don't see. I see an acquittal.
I do too. I mean, we can, all things considered, excluding jury tampering, plants, things like that. If everybody there is of sound mind and body and is truly looking at this as objectively as they have promised to, I think
Yeah.
it's going to be an acquittal as well, especially now that the Commonwealth has openly changed their theory after having presented the majority of their case in chief to the jury. And
I
then
cannot
on
believe.
right. And now, and okay, so Cleven's book is called Storm of Suspicion. If I were to write a book on this case, I think I would entitle it Square Peg Round Hole, because here's the other corner that they now are having to jam into place here, which is that now that they have married themselves to the 1232 finish line, right? And
Yep.
changed
Yep.
their theory as
Yep.
such. Now they're going to have to make Karen Reed's commute home. Well, when I say home, I mean to One Meadows.
Shorter.
That home now is going to have to, that trip home is now going to have to take 4 minutes or less.
Right.
And most
Right.
likely less, because we all know it takes a minute for your phone to automatically connect
Yep.
to the Wi-Fi.
And maybe
Nan,
she was sitting in her car. Hi, Nan. She
Nan,
was
thank
maybe.
you so much. I
Oh
hope to get
my,
you back on the
that's
show here
nice,
pretty soon.
Nan.
You were great on the Young Jerks. I missed you on Brian LTL's show. Or maybe you haven't done it yet.
I love Nam. She's a good person. So now you're stuck like this.
Sorry.
With your eyeballs
Sorry.
up.
Sorry. There was one show in which Nan was going to be comparing and contrasting Lally's prosecution versus Brennan's prosecution. And make sure that if you guys don't subscribe to LTL Media, that you are subscribed and that you watch that stream. Because even though I haven't seen it, I am willing to bet money that it's going to be stellar, because Nan put a lot of time and preparation into this comparison. It's going to be.
When is that? When are you doing that, Nan?
If I'm not mistaken, it was going to be today at some point. Oh, hang on, Nan just answered our question. She's driving home to get back to do the LTL show now. So that, I guess that's later tonight. So yeah, guys, make sure.
I'll be on there watching for sure.
Yeah. Okay. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure y'all watch that. I'm gonna be sure to be watching myself, so we can do a Savage Patch raid.
Broken Baker, I love you so much.
Oh, the Twisted Tragedies comment. Yeah, that was pretty good. Mazda says, have your BLTs ready at 8 p.m. And if you're a Mazda fan, some chicken wings too.
Yep.
That actually sounds like a really dynamite meal, a BLT and some chicken wings.
I got a chicken parm being made for me right downstairs. I can hear it. That's a good one.
Oh, man. Okay, so what I did want to do with you while I've got you on here, if my internet will allow me today.
Okay.
I was gonna pull up. I've already got it on deck and ready to go. I wanted to watch a little bit of this cross-examination with Dr. Wolf.
Okay.
If you have time.
I do. Of course I do.
Okay. Where was it? Y'all give me 1 second. I love how Dr. Wolf's name is spelled Isaac, which is Aizik.
Phonetically.
Yes. And then he said Wolf like the real thing.
Real one. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Melanie M. Yeah, let's remind everybody to please leave your touch DNA, not any, blood or tissue, but touch DNA on the like button and the subscribe. And if you have a friend who you think would like this channel, please feel free to share it. This is not a secret club. Okay, here it is. Yeah, I already pre-fast forwarded Let's just see if I can share the screen. And then even if you're just watching to troll, liking the video will help your fellow trolls find it. So they can also troll.
Trolls watch everything.
Of that I have no doubt. All right, let's see what kind of speed I have this set to. Let's go to like 1.5-ish.
Okay.
Or we can start at 1.25, and if we want to speed it up more, we can. Get me out of here. There we go. The wolf pack posters. Oh my god. I'm gonna have to get a. You remember the wolf shirts too from the 90s? Can Free Karen Reed have a wolf shirt Wednesday? Where anybody who's streaming or on a stream is wearing, it had a full moon, always had a full moon.
Yes. Morning, doctor. I don't think we've had the pleasure of meeting. Welcome.
Thank you.
Sir, can you just describe, you started to do it a little bit on direct, a typical day for you?
I wake up at 4:15 in the morning. I go to my center. I set up patients with frames for their either radiosurgical procedures or stereotactic craniotomies. I go home. I make a cappuccino for my wife at 6 o'clock in the morning. And then I get back to work at 6:30 and move on. I have patients that I'm operating on, and I have patients that I'm seeing through the day.
What type of patients and what type of work? Just in a typical day. What are you doing? What type of patients and what do you do?
It varies. I mean, I see patients with brain tumor. Subacute and chronic subdural hematomas, post-traumatic. I see patients with strokes that are being misdiagnosed. I see patients with cancer, metastatic disease. I used to see patients with cervical problems. I stopped doing that 2 years ago. I don't know what else you want me to tell you.
No, that's great. And is that typical day, typical of the type of days you've had for the past month, past few years? Is it generally, without specifics, is it generally?
Correct.
So none of your typical days, none of the past typical months have involved forensic pathology, have they? You haven't acted as a forensic pathologist.
I am. If you could have asked that question, very straightforward. I am not a forensic.
Okay. I have to say, he interrupted almost every question, even to Brennan.
Yeah.
And you already touched on this, Jen, but there's definitely a God complex going on here, which, that's true of many neurosurgeons, but, that just,
yeah, he probably interrupts his patients a lot too.
He seems
when
like the type to not even listen to his patients. They are trying to, other than maybe a couple keywords on their symptoms, but he's just going to go based off of whatever the tech typed in. He's not going to listen to the patient directly.
He seems like he would be a little surgery happy too. Like he loves doing surgery. So let's just cut your head open and
wants to cut.
Play with your brain a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, Christine.
And then his favorite, thank you, Calypso. His favorite patient is his wife, who just needs her caffeine fix.
Her cappuccino.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? What actor do you
does?
feel
It's Anthony Hopkins. He looks like, I think.
I can see Anthony Hopkins. I can see a little bit of the name of the guy who plays Alfred in all the Batman movies. He's been in 100 things. Oh man, I'm trying to think of his name, but does he have terrible reviews, Liz?
Yeah, apparently he has
Oh.
some reviews that are not too good for him. And the way that he pointed out that this is only 1% of his income, so you probably imagine they probably paid him $20,000 or at 15 maybe. I don't know how much experts cost, but I imagine it's probably that amount. So if that's 1% of what he makes, he's making what? I'm not a math person, but 15 million a year.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
And yes, Nikki, that's who I was thinking of, Michael Caine. Thank
Michael
you.
Caine. He does look
Yeah.
like Michael Caine. Oh, yeah,
I get a little bit of a Michael Caine vibe, like just sprinkled in there, maybe not the main ingredient.
I see, like, put the lotion in the basket. That's what I see.
Before he gets the hose again.
Silence of the Lambs.
Yes. All right, here we go. I just pulled up
Okay.
some of his reviews. We'll bring this back. Don't worry.
Okay.
Let's see. Stop screen, present again, share screen. And thank you again to Steven who sent me this awesome monitor so I can see what I'm doing without having reading glasses.
Girl.
Fabulous. Okay, let's find. Oh,
I wish I could see anything without reading glasses.
Annalise M from San Francisco says untrustworthy at this point. I can't in good conscience say I trust Dr. Wolf. Something is amiss and it's alarming.
Ooh. Ooh.
Oop, looks
That
like
gives me grave concerns.
Even a non-grave concern from Bev would really make me happy at this point.
I don't know.
Let's
I
see.
mean, I think she might be starting to get it a little bit. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, here we go. I'm trying to. Where do you normally go to find reviews for a medical professional? Would it be this place, Health Grades?
How do you spell his name again?
It starts with an A. AIZIK.
Let's see. Reviews. Well, he's got a 4.4 on Google. So, somebody from looks like he's got. Well, that's a good one. Dr. Wolf and his staff are not the caring patient service you need. Wolf is easy to dismiss and not lets others feel what we are going through. His receptionist and practice manager are no help and clueless to matters. May my grandmother get the peace and the rest pain-free from her ending misery experience.
Oh, that's not a good one.
No, that's not a good one. But he does have a lot of 5-star reviews, it looks like.
I mean, when it comes to surgeons versus like a GP, at least for me, I look for bedside manner a little more when it's someone I'm dealing with more frequently, like a GP. When I am dealing with a more surgical matter, I would rather have an effective person than, someone who's kind, like.
And I imagine that you're dealing with your brain. I mean, it's not like you are dealing with, your podiatrist and you might lose your pinky toe, which is not good. Listen, that's not good either.
Certainly, but
if you've got a brain tumor and you're worried about, or an aneurysm or something, and you're worried about, dying, you kind of want somebody that has a little bit of compassion.
Exactly. Well, yeah.
Explains things.
Certainly. Yeah, that's a complicated and risky.
Yeah.
Surgery,
and he looks like he's getting a little bit on the aged side. I don't know if I'd want somebody in my brain that's 94, maybe some people. But he
Hey,
looks like he's, could be getting a little shaky in there. That's mean. I shouldn't say that.
Well, I mean,
But I did.
is it true? I saw this on Grey's Anatomy one day, but like, do they really wear Depends for some procedures?
I've heard that too. I never worked in an operating room, so I don't know. But I also know that long procedures that are like 8 hours, 12 hours, they have a whole team of doctors. So, and they work together. I forget something I was watching, and they work together and they have the whole surgery kind of planned out like a symphony. And they know exactly when they come in, and one leaves, takes a break, goes to the bathroom. The other one works for a couple hours. So, but somebody also said that he does that like gamma, like a lot of his surgery is not like opening the brain and looking and working on it, but more of like the
the less invasive stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that being said, let's keep going on this. We have established though he definitely is a little on the condescending side.
And he needs to fix his collar.
Oh, now I'm not
drove
going to
me
be able to look
crazy.
away from it.
Right?
Jen. Jen.
Pathologist. I'm a brain surgeon.
Right. And you don't perform autopsies, correct, sir? You're a brain surgeon.
Correct. In other words, I see more brains than the forensic pathologist.
Right. And is it correct to say that
Look at that
the brains
smile.
that you see are of living people?
Correct.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is to go to
Hank's not on a platter. We're so glad you're
different
okay.
part
Yay.
of the
Yeah, glad you're
head
okay.
than was discussed, but sticking with the deceit.
Excuse me, I didn't hear the last
I'm
word.
sorry, with the topic is going to be Mr. O'Keefe, the deceit in this
Okay.
matter, sir. You testified about raccoon eyes. The medical term for that, sir, is ecchymosis, right?
Correct.
And ecchymosis, raccoon eyes, does not cause a laceration to form on an eyelid, does it?
No.
Are you aware that Mr. O'Keefe
Ding, ding, ding. Point for the defense.
Yep.
Alessi says, now the laceration on his eye would not have been caused from the same injury. And we have photos, videos, footage of John O'Keefe from that night. He did not have a laceration when he left.
Ooh. We'll just wait a second. She'll be back.
So,
There she
here
is.
I am. Sorry.
No, it's fun.
So, yeah, he did not have that laceration when he went out that night.
Right. And I don't,
So-
the trolls, was it Coffin Dave or somebody said, oh, it could have happened in the car when they got in a fight. Well, nobody knows they got in a fight, and there's no history of violence in that relationship. And every excuse they can come up with to justify,
Yeah,
none.
none.
The fact
None
that he has
whatsoever.
injuries
And-
that don't match.
And at the end of the day, you cannot convict on could have. Well, it could have been this. Well, this could have happened. You can't
Did
convict
you
on
watch
that shit.
Aiden's show on Saturday night, and he brought up the Casey Anthony trial, and there was somebody had sent him an interview with the juror, and she was explaining why they found her not guilty is that they didn't prove that she did what the state of Florida said she did. And that, yes, could she have drowned in the pool? Yes. Could this have happened? Yes. But that's not what they said happened, and we couldn't convict her.
Sure. And as sad as it is that there are factually guilty people who walk, that
Yeah.
is the way our justice system is designed. It is based on the Blackstone ratio, which is it's better that, some people say 10, some say 50, 100. It's better that multiple guilty people walk than that one
One
innocent person wrongly suffers. And this is dating back to the 1600s is when Blackstone published all his writings. And most of today's Western criminal justice systems, and when I say Western, I mean like the Western world. So
Right.
the UK, Canada, here, those types of first world, more modern justice systems are based upon that black.
Just wait a minute. She'll be back.
Oh, am I
There she is.
am I back now? Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you're back.
I'll quit my
Don't say
ranting.
sorry. Don't say sorry.
I swear, guys, I'm like a week or two away from having real internet instead of this bullshit that I have in the interim between my two internet companies. But yeah, we are supposed to, every time evidence is laid on the altar for a judge to allow in or can it. Every time we present a defendant before a jury of that person's peers, we are to assume that person is innocent until, and this is part of the beyond a reasonable doubt standard. So we are supposed to err on the side of caution there. So yes, there are going to be guilty people who walk. Now, do I believe Karen is factually guilty? No. But even if she were factually guilty, at this point, with the level of trampling that has happened on her rights, on the procedural due process that she is guaranteed as part of our Constitution, even if she were factually guilty, I would still be saying, well, because of the way that our criminal justice system works, she should walk anyway.
I agree. And like you, I totally think Karen is innocent. I do not believe John O'Keefe was hit by a car. But I mean, between the investigation, the bias, the relationships, the lies, the misrepresentations to the grand jury, everything, she never should have been indicted at all.
No. She, as soon as Dr. Shorty Bello came back with her non-conclusive manner of death, that should have been it.
How can you charge somebody with murder when the medical examiner says it's not a homicide? That should be the end of it. And maybe charge her with a DUI.
Right.
Even that they can't prove, really. So
no. And in Massachusetts, I'm not sure of how it works. I'm not a Massachusetts resident, but I have heard, so don't come after me on this if I'm wrong, but I have heard that in Massachusetts, you can only get charged with a DUI if there was damage or a manslaughter, it's different. They can charge retroactively. But if it's a simple DUI, then unless you're caught in the act,
it makes sense.
Like you are in that driver's seat, your car is in drive, all that, then they can't charge you.
Right.
In the middle of it. They can't go back and find, video footage or, red light camera or anything like that.
And prove you were drunk. Yeah.
Yes, Thomas T. That was
I know.
Penny McGee.
Yeah.
That
was a crazy
abysmal
trial. I watched that. Yeah, that was awful. And thankfully Beverly did the right thing. And you take a chance when you ask for a bench trial over a jury trial, but I see why she did that, because a jury is going to have emotion and they're going to think about fighting, and what if she hadn't pushed him, maybe he wouldn't have fallen. But yeah, that was crazy. That poor woman.
Well, and that also showed that Judge Canone knows how to weigh things in a
Yep.
balanced way.
Something is going on there with her. Something is up with her. She's
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say she's like in on something, but
Well,
something's up with
there's
that.
there is something or someone influencing her.
Exactly.
You know, the only time I have ever seen her rule in favor of the defense is when she is legally backed into a corner where
Right.
she has no choice. Except for, okay, one exception. The only time I saw her go ahead and rule with the defense, without there being an argument presented to her that basically, again, cornered her, was when Brennan was trying to use that one little, slip of a waiver of attorney-client privilege.
Yeah,
And
to get the phone records. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
To
agree.
try to get
And
all.
I would also think, like, say Karen is convicted, which I don't believe she will be, but what if she is convicted? Doesn't Bev think about the appellate issues? I mean, just the fact that she allowed the Commonwealth to change their whole theory 4 weeks
Mhm.
into trial when they had already cross-examined witnesses based on the Commonwealth theory, and now they're changing it. Have to imagine that would be
Yeah.
a huge
I
appellate
don't
issue.
think for 1 minute that if Karen's convicted that it'll hold on appeal. For more than just that, you can
Yeah.
see
Oh, yeah.
a lot of the unpredictability in Judge Bev's rulings.
Yeah.
For example, not allowing Dr. Rentschler to speak to his opinion on the causation of Officer O'Keefe's injuries because
Right.
he's not a medical doctor. That is the reason that she cited. But here we are with no
Right.
voir dire allowing Dr. Jim Crosby, to speak to the same thing. And he's an
Right.
animal behaviorist. He's not a medical doctor.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. And then
yeah.
the bad thing is, though, that if she was convicted, I feel like she would definitely, win her case on appeal. But where she sits while that's going on, and nobody wants that because she's factually innocent.
Right. And then, I feel in a lot of ways that between the judicial immunity and the, not to get political in any way, but in a lot of ways, the criminal justice system is kind of designed to prevent itself from correcting its own mistakes.
Oh, yes.
It's so hard to get your foot in the door for an appeal.
Yes. It's like they just don't want to admit that they got it wrong.
Mm-hmm. Like Commonwealth versus Sean Ellis.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, the things that they had to do just
And
to
he's
be
in jail
heard
for
at the
20
SJC.
Yeah, 22 years, 23 years, something like that.
Yeah, that was awful. And what was crazy was they were able to prove that there were corrupt investigators, and that still wasn't enough to even get them in the appellate court.
Right.
So they had to prove so much more than that. It was insane to me.
Thank God it worked out for him.
Yeah,
And yeah, the fact that she didn't let Easter testify, because I think it would be important for the jury to know that there's nothing about this investigation, and the fact that they can't look at, say, Lindsay, who is the woman who killed her 3 children in Massachusetts, and they used her phone to say, oh, her iPhone said she went up 2 flights of stairs and jumped out the window, and they're using it to convict her. but then, and they use it in every other case, and but
Mhm.
now it's unreliable in
Yeah.
this case because it doesn't show them what they want. I have a real problem with that.
Me too. There are a lot of things in this case that are going to set precedents and
Yeah.
possibly dangerous ones. Um, we in on this channel have discussed Brian Walsh's case. A lot of what is potentially convicting him is going to be his phone data. And
Exactly.
if all this is allowed to stand, then what's going to happen? Is Anna Walsh ever going to get justice? So,
But how do you
yeah.
bring that into another case? Like, what do
Mhm.
you pull? How do you say, well, in this trial you said this, but in this trial you're saying this? And they can't. I can't see how they would ever get that in, and the Commonwealth knows that.
Mhm. They do, but do they care is the question. Ah, it's
I'm a brat 449. I don't know. I heard that 2 jurors had to change seats. I have never been in the courtroom, so I don't see that. But I think Sue, um,
O'Connell,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, she said that they were. Somebody said that 2 jurors did change seats.
Gotcha. I was wondering about that myself. So, all
Lindsay
right, let's
Clancy, yes, Lindsay Clancy.
Clancy. Okay.
Okay.
Is right upper eyelid.
I am aware that the ME described that. Yes, sir.
Now, could, Your Honor, I'm going to, with Your Honor's permission, ask to publish what is already in evidence in a moment.
Okay.
Mr. Wolf,
What exhibit number, Mr. Alessi?
we're going to, 165, Your Honor.
Okay, go right ahead.
Thank you. Dr. Wolf, have you seen this photo depiction before today?
I believe I have.
Is it correct that injury on the upper right eyelid is caused by the application of force directly to that area of the front of the head, again, namely the upper eyelid?
That's possible. Yes.
Is it more than possible? Is it probable that injury was caused by the application of force directly to that area of the front of his head?
Well, an easy answer to that would be is that that's not part of the periorbital ecchymosis.
Thank you, sir. That was exactly going to be my next question. This injury is unrelated to any of what you've been describing, the fall backwards, the force transfer inside the skull, the, as you described it, the dura, the cerebral spinal fluid, all of that dynamic that you so ably described on your direct examination. This injury has nothing to do with that, correct?
Correct.
He looks tired.
He does look to all those brain surgeries.
Mhm. And cappuccino.
He needs his nap.
Thank you for answering my questions, Dr. Wolf. A pleasure again. No more questions at this time, Your Honor.
He's like, what? Why do you
That's-
ask me any more questions? That's it? I'm a brilliant brain surgeon. Ask me anything.
That's it. Well, and Alessi has to be careful in crossing him for a couple of reasons. One, if he prods and pokes too much, then Brennan might come back on redirect,
Right.
and get Dr. Wolf to say more than he did
Right.
on the car accident matter and potentially saying something about that. So I think Alessi maybe wanted to just kind of leave it there, but
Yep.
I think it was important though to highlight that he's not a pathologist.
Right.
So again, surgeons, they don't pay much attention to what caused the injury,
Right.
aside from so that they know how to treat it.
Right.
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 And then from there, they just, are trying to fix you.
Right.
A pathologist is the one who, or a medical examiner, a forensic pathologist, that is who would look further into the issue of causation.
Yeah.
So, Dr.
And
Russell.
right. And the defense has a forensic pathologist from Rhode Island. I forget her name, but she just testified in the Turk case, the doctor case.
Oh,
Where,
that was
yeah,
her?
yeah,
I saw
yeah.
her. She's good.
She's very good. She's very good. I
Yeah.
think they're going to hit on the fact that she hasn't done an autopsy in several years, but she's got a couple
Human
other issues or something, but nothing. She was very good in the Turk case.
Unless the human body has evolved
Right.
in that number of years, then
Right.
does it matter?
Yeah.
And then Dr. Russell as well, who was the
Yep.
forensic pathologist for
Yep.
decades.
Yep.
So
She's brilliant. I don't care what those antis say. That woman, I mean, come on. Police officer, surgeon, ER doc, pathologist.
Talk about channeling your ADD, right?
So smart.
Yeah.
She wanted to do it all.
100%. She is one of the most qualified people that you'll be able to find on this planet.
She's gonna, I mean, rip. Brennan's gonna try and he's gonna be rude to her, just like he was in the voir dire. He's gonna be rude to her. He's gonna yell at her. He's gonna, and she just isn't taking that. I love her.
Yeah. And
She's gonna gasp.
Yeah. I hope that she has a little bit of ramp in her too, to where she, without coming across as rude as Brennan does, because if Brennan approaches her the same way he did in that Daubert hearing, it's going to be bad optics.
Bad. I don't think it'll look good I don't think Brennan has presented himself well to the jury at all. I mean, from what they say, it's a younger jury. I think he'll come across as being just an asshole.
Yeah. 100%. And if he does Dr. Russell like that, and we have to remember, Dr. Russell was not at 34 Fairview on January 29th, 2022. So, she is a third party expert being brought in to render an opinion, and Hank's treating her like a hostile witness. If he does that in front of the jury, I really think that they're going to look at it the same way we looked at that voir dire, which is like, how dare you?
Well, what's the point? Why?
Yeah. She's just a nice lady.
Yeah.
Right.
And the way that he treated Dr. Wolf, our Dr. Wolf. Was just it was maddening. The maddening. No. But he just shows those little dimples and kind of smirks at him. He knows he's smarter than Brennan. He knows. Oh,
right through. Okay. Yeah. The jury will see right through however Brennan approaches Dr. Wolf as well.
I agree.
I don't have chances to cover the courtroom live.
Yeah.
But I did that day. And I just had to mute my mic.
Yeah.
Sit back, because some of y'all might have been there with me on that day. I don't think I've ever raised my voice quite to that
like
point
that
before.
I don't listen to Brennan. I don't listen to direct. I'll listen to him on cross when he crosses the defense witnesses, but I don't listen to him on direct. And I didn't listen to Lally either because I just can't. I can't take it.
They're both difficult to listen to for different reasons. So,
Yep.
you know, so to get one or two of your predictions here, if you have any.
Okay.
What do you think is going to be the medical examiner from Rhode Island and yeah, I don't remember her name either. But
Yeah.
what do you think she is going to say that will support her opinion that hypothermia did not play a role here in the death of Officer John O'Keefe?
Well, I don't think personally that she'll say that it didn't play some sort of role, but the fact that I think she's going to say that John died instantly from his head injury, and that you know he had hypothermia because he was out there for a couple hours, but in 18 degrees. But I think she's going to say, and I don't know for a fact, this is just what I'm thinking, that she's going to say that he died immediately and that the changes to his pancreas were from something to do with his head injury or injuries and not to the hypothermia. And that's why I think they also questioned, was it Scordy Bello on the stomach lesions from the drinking and all that, to show that those were not caused directly by hypothermia.
One thing that always kind of stood out to me in this case, and you know, I'm sure it caught your attention as well as a medical professional, but I live in Florida now, but I grew up in a cold place. And I've had frost nip before just from playing outside too long.
I think that's huge.
Yeah, and I was dressed to the nines when I got it too, just from playing in the snow all day. I had, you know, the discoloration and and I had to go to the doctor. I was very young, so I don't remember a whole lot of it, but I got what they call frost nipped, which is basically a really mild frostbite. And there were no noted signs of frostbite. And if he had been out there with nothing but a very thin, long sleeved hoodie, and a pair of jeans and sneakers and no hat.
No hat, because hat came off. And anything that is pointy, so your nose, your ears, your fingertips, things like that are going to get frostbite. And they can't say, well, he just warmed up and then it didn't show, because the signs of frostbite last. It's not something like you just get windburn on your face and then when you get inside you warm up and it kind of goes away. They last. They'd be able to see that. And you know, to be out there for 5.5 hours in 18 degrees with negative something wind chill. And I hope they harp on that a little bit more in the second trial, because I don't think they did a lot in the first trial at all. The fact that he didn't have frostbite.
No, me neither. And that's a really good point that you make, Jen, with the you know, the lack of notation there. It's not like it could have just gone away instantaneously. You need please correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding of it is you need a certain amount of circulation in order to recover and over a long period of time.
And Dr. Rice in the ER didn't, I mean, we haven't seen his full medical report, but I'm sure he would have testified that yes, he was the first one to see it. Mr. O'Keefe came in and we noticed noticeable, you know, so recognizable frostbite on his nose, his ears, his fingertips, and nothing. And don't tell me you missed it, because your job as a doctor is to look at your patient and note, you know, what you see when they come in.
Christina has a question for us. Who do we think the first witness will be for the defense?
Well, I think it's going to be somebody while the last, I can't think of his name, the last witness for the Commonwealth,
Welcher?
the doc Welcher. I think it will be somebody to rebut his testimony because it's fresh in the jury's mind.
I hope you're right. Mark Betterow. Let me go ahead and pull him up here because I love this emoji that we now have in the chat for our members. But Betterow, when he was on Brother Counsel's stream a couple days ago, and make sure you follow Brother Counsel, guys, if you don't already.
Love Brother Counsel.
He gives good coverage too on this. But Betterow kind of gave his strategy for the entire defense, which I just
thinking he probably knows a little bit more than I do.
Probably. And this is not to say that he has any inside information or anything, but what he said was, if I were running point on this whole defense, I would start with ARCA. And last trial they started with Dr. Russell,
right?
Which I feel inadvertently kind of created that burden shifting onto the defense because they came out swinging with the dog bite thing through Dr. Russell. So if we start with ARCA, then we have highly credentialed, very, very believable and credible witnesses who, like you said, while it's still fresh in the jury's mind that there were significant issues with the Aperture witnesses, we can bring up the ARCA witnesses who, they're not going to give an alternate theory, but they're going to say there's no way in science and physics that Officer O'Keefe's injuries were caused by a pedestrian strike. So
one other thing I hope that the defense touches on is the lack of tissue and DNA and blood on the taillight pieces that were found, because even the paramedic said that the cuts were really deep. He used that motion, very deep. Any kind of deep cut like that is going to leave something behind. And the fact that they found nothing on any of other than a little touch DNA on the outside of the biggest piece of taillight, there's no blood, there's no tissue, there's nothing, no skin. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, nothing on the undercarriage of the car either, which you would have expected with
nothing on the car itself, the spoiler, there was some troll, Valerie McGilvery, skip view, and she's big on the spoiler hitting the head, and claims that they took a piece of paint off Karen's car and analyzed it and none of that was done. And I thought a great point that was brought up on Aiden Show, and it was from a super chat, is why did they take pictures of John O'Keefe's car on February 2nd? Why'd they take pictures of his car? If they didn't realize that she hit it, or that, why would they take pictures of his car? It doesn't make any sense.
And then didn't somebody testify to there being a car, like a mechanic or somebody there at One Meadows too?
So listen, I know that's come up a lot, and Jen McCabe said that. What I think her point is that everybody came out to support the family because John was so well known. And the fact that, listen, even the car mechanic came. I don't think it means anything at all. She did. I don't think that it was like a code that the car mechanic was there because he fixed the Traverse. I just think it was her way of saying, even the mailman came, even that kind of thing. That's
sure. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. I that's why I was asking. And then one other thing I wanted to ask you was, why don't you see, and I can pull up a photo of Officer O'Keefe's clothes. Let me get it up here on the screen real quick. Okay. I'm trying to find a photo of the shirt and pants next to each other. I saw a really good one on one.
Okay.
Let's add it up here. Now, this is something that has not been addressed, and I wanted to ask you about this. There are so many blood and vomit stains on the more southerly parts of Officer O'Keefe's clothes, which I, as a layperson, would not expect from somebody who was supposedly immediately incapacitated and then in a laying on his back position all night.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
There were body fluids, in his boxer briefs and vomit.
So I have a theory on that. I have a theory on the boxer briefs because I think they said it was just on the elastic of his boxers, and I may be wrong, but they also testified that when they went to intubate him, they suctioned out his mouth and they suctioned out vomit, which then he obviously did vomit when he was hit in the head. And so I think they took his clothes off or took his pants off. He was probably just in his boxers, and they probably had a suction catheter that suctioned out his mouth from the vomit and maybe just threw it and it landed on the boxers. And therefore I may be wrong, or he could have been leaning over in the house or somebody moved him. Or it's weird that the way the blood is on the shirt, though, because you would think with gravity it would just kind of be around him, not
right.
Unless is that the back of his shirt, unless it dripped down his back. I don't know.
That's the back of the shirt. And then, there were, stains.
She'll be back.
Let me pull the screen down real quick.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to just show whatever, not knowing what I'm pulling up. Man, I'm not finding a lot of them. But yeah, there definitely seemed to be a defiance of gravity.
Yeah, and the blood on his pants is questionable too. Like how did the blood get on his pants?
Certainly.
Because he wasn't actively bleeding when they found him, because dead people don't bleed.
Correct.
Actively. And
right.
If he was out there for so long and he, head injuries, they bleed. Was there any sort of clotting in that area? Like it just, I don't know, the whole thing, it just doesn't make sense that he was out there for so long.
And I also would have expected there to have been maybe more
Listen,
debris.
Nelson A, I see your comments there. Nelson A is a troll.
All right.
And that's absolutely not what David Yannetti said. He did not say it was an accident. She had no intent to harm her boyfriend. On that day, David Yannetti did not know what happened. He hadn't even gotten a
Right.
police report yet. He had no idea. So for his client was being charged with manslaughter,
At the
and
time.
at the time, and he said there was no intent. He was not admitting guilt on her behalf, which he can't do anyways. He was not
Mhm.
saying that she hit him. He didn't know anything. He didn't know. He hadn't even gotten a police report. So, Nelson, ask Bob says to sober up. Sober up. And no, I don't want to talk about the shoe.
To be in my chat as long as you are being respectful to everyone in here. And you of course are that's my thoughts. Darcy says I think they washed his clothes. Well, they at the very least were, you know, bagged for 6 weeks, wet,
Yeah.
you know.
I don't think they took his clothes off of him, washed them, and then redressed him. I just think
No.
that's a little over the
But
top.
it is definitely an issue of contention that the clothes were not checked in
Right.
until 6 weeks after the alleged incident. Well, the incident. There was an incident no matter what.
Right. Right.
But six weeks after the incident is when we first see any chain of custody documentation for the clothes. And you know, this again is why I say to people who do not support Karen Reed, who are supportive of the Commonwealth side, you know, if that was how I felt, I would be more upset with the law enforcement who have buggered up this investigation than anybody else.
If this was your child and this was an investigation into their murder, would you be okay with the way this investigation was conducted? Would you be okay with the way the evidence was handled, the way the evidence was not logged? I wouldn't be. And yeah, they should be. When Karen walks free, and say she is guilty, but she is found not guilty, then the O'Keefe should be more upset with the investigation than they should on anything else.
Precisely. And I mean, regardless of how I feel on the matter, I feel that the people who failed Officer O'Keefe the most are, you know, the investigators.
Yep, I agree. Had Michael Proctor removed himself from this investigation when he realized that Chris and Julie Albert were involved, or their brother was involved or anything, had he done that, we might be in a much different situation now.
Completely. Mark, welcome. Glad that you decided to pop in. And then Jenny, I'm glad that you hopped in too. We're about to wrap it up here, but I'm really glad that you guys stopped by. And you know, this of course will be available on replay too. Oh man, this Bluetooth mouse is giving me problems.
Sorry, I went off. Your friend your thing Nelson got Altman. Sorry.
Oh please, no. Altman away. Like I said, I have no rules, especially if you're being brought up as a guest.
It just makes me angry when they talk about, the fact that he didn't look mortally wounded. She's talking about when she saw him the next morning laying in the snow. I mean, you couldn't see the head, you couldn't see the arm, it looked like he had just maybe had a heart attack or passed out in the snow or something. So that's what she meant by that. And I think the jury will see that once they play everything in context.
And what do you think the jury is taking from these out of context snippets that Hank is scattering between witnesses?
I think they'll understand more once the defense starts their case in chief, that they will be able to explain more than that, because they did have to fight, because I guess some of the videos were very clipped, and the defense, if you're going to use the clips, you have to use the whole clip. You can't just take a piece of it where she says, I hit him, and take out the, could I have hit him?
Right. And the question mark.
Right. Exactly.
Exactly. That little bit of fluctuation in the voice. Do you, Mark just asked the same thing I was about to ask you, Jen. So do you think that the defense is going to show anything from Karen's interviews that kind of bring all of that into context?
They can't use her videos. If they're going to use her videos, then they have to have her on the stand.
Okay.
They can't use this videos in the same way that the prosecution can.
Oh, so the Commonwealth can do it, but
but the defense can't, because then it's like testimony. It's her testimony.
Interesting.
That's as far as I understand it, is that they can't. I don't know, Nelson. I don't follow many DUI cases in the United States, and I don't really give a fuck. I only care about the fact that John O'Keefe was not hit by a car.
Because my mouse is not, here we go. Works way better on this. All right. Well, I am going to make dinner. And
yes, I'm going to go eat dinner
and take some meds. I'm getting over a nasty flu. So
I'm sorry.
Hey, it's gravy. It's all gravy, but
you'll get through it.
Yeah, I've got, this is my Pedialyte that I have. I have a bucket down there just in case the worst happened.
No.
So I'm doing better today than I was yesterday, but I hope all of you guys stay healthy, and I hope that all of us are able to get together again very, very soon. I'm hopefully going to be feeling better in the upcoming days. And the next live that we do is going to be members only. I finally figured out how to do an actual members only and have it really be just for members, because I completely butchered my setup for the members only. Yeah, the last one I did, I was throwing a stand out here in Florida. And oh my God, I did a members only live while I was cutting up my letters for signage, and I somehow set it to where it wasn't members only. Anyone could watch it, but only members could partake in the chat.
In the chat, subscribe,
Yeah. So someone actually got in the chat and said, hey, I became a member just so I could tell you, but I wanted to make sure you were aware
that everybody can see you.
That everyone can see. Oh my God, that was so funny. I mean, I wasn't saying anything in there that I didn't want non-members to hear or anything
like that. Wasn't like an OnlyFans account.
Oh, certainly not. Certainly not.
You're like showing your feet.
Hey, if as much as I love Karen and support her and want to help her, I don't think shaking what I've got would do all that much more for her
Same.
than what I already do.
Same. Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You are welcome back anytime. Mi casa es tu
Awesome.
casa. So if you're ever just like waltzing through the internet and stumble across, just say, send me a link, Britt, and I'll let you right
I
up.
will. And thanks, chat. Bye,
Well, we
Nelson.
appreciate your time, Jen. Thanks so much for being here. We had a blast with you today.
Same. You guys have, and it starts tomorrow. Free Karen Read.
We're back tomorrow. Y'all can quit your itching.
Yes.
All
Bye-bye.
right. You take it easy, Jen. Happy Memorial Day.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Oh goodness, I love her. Isn't she a blast, guys? And I've been wanting to have her on especially since the fundraiser stream that we did last week, or maybe it was a couple weeks ago. I'm really not sure. But she came in to our whatchamadoodgee. What's the word that I'm thinking of? My brain's fried from my fever. The fundraiser stream that we did a couple weeks ago with Mazza Media, with Will the Glarer, with Carrie, and with Not Haley Walbrick, Jason Broyles, and I've been wanting to have her on ever since, just for her own episode anyway. Well, guys, sometime this week, we're going to do a members only live. It's going to be a blast, and we're going to go over all of the Howie Carr roasts. So please make sure that y'all are here, those of you who are members, for that. And I hope that all of you have an amazing rest of your Memorial Day. I will be back with you very, very soon. Y'all have a great night. Peace, love, and butt dials.